Hey, what's up, y'all? This is the Will and DeShaun show. I am DeShaun.
And it's Will.
And, Will, how you doing?
How you doing? I'm all right.
I wish you had a camera so you could see the hands.
The windy. You got the windy hand.
Exactly. How you doing?
All right.
Well, I'm quite well, thank you. But see, y'all, today we're here to talk about Pose. So we're going to start this whole Pose after show review type deal. Mm-hmm. But we're starting on episode 3 because that's where I came in at.
Of season 2. Now, guys, I will say I have been a fan and have watched since season 1. I've seen the first 4 episodes of season 2 thus far. DeShaun has finally watched some, and he did recently watch this latest video.
Right. So we came in on the extra sad episode with Candy. Her name is, right?
It's Candy.
Right. Dying.
Yes.
Right. So with that being said, so what did you think of the show?
The show was amazing.
Okay.
I will say that. Now, I will say Pose is amazing.
Okay, exactly. So let's go ahead and start out with how you feel about the show Pose and the significance of a show like Pose that highlights transgender and the transgender community and everything that was going down in the belly of the beast of
Harlem, New York.
Yeah, of Harlem, New York. Not New York, but New York.
New York, very much that. I think the show is a great representation of that particular era. Pose comes from, the scene of the show, or the time era of the show. We started off from the 80s. Now they're in their early 90s.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're actually in the beginning, like 1992 or 3. So it's in the very beginning of the 90s. So it shows the ballroom culture as well as the gay culture, what was going on in those times. Mm-hmm. I will say this show is so amazing, and it covers every fucking basis, especially when it comes down to like the trans community, because people, honestly, even in this day and age, the LGBT community, we cancel out the trans community.
You think so?
The trans community don't get they're just due.
That's funny because as I frequent the Reddit subforums, there's a group that's called LGB because they feel like transgender isn't the same as LGB, like lesbian, bisexual, and gay. Yeah. So it's like they say they don't have anything against transgender, but they feel like that's like another element when you start to change your gender and stuff like that.
Now, we can stay right there. We can definitely expound on that. I can kind of sort of agree, almost.
Right, okay.
Because we still are a community. The difference between this is what people in the straight community also doesn't realize as well, that trans people are not gay.
Right, because trans people, it's so interesting. My niece told me this. She said she had someone transgender and what she was attracted to changed.
Really?
Yeah, I think maybe, y'all forgive me because I might get this wrong, but I think the person started out as a female and she was attracted to a woman, but when she transgendered to being a man, she was attracted to men.
So she's a trans man
that's now attracted to men.
Who's now attracted to men.
Right.
Wow, that's different. Well, now she's actually gay. That person's gay.
Right, exactly.
But being a transgender has nothing. Oh, it's so hard because these lines are so blurred.
That's why this shouldn't be any lines.
Right. Transgender is who you are.
You don't change your makeup.
Right.
Your gender born with, right?
Who you identify with as your gender in your mind is not the gender on your outside. You know, that's why they come up with these words like cis this and cis that, cis male and cis female, and transgender male and transgender female.
Speaking of cis, just to go through it real quick, is that an acronym for something?
I don't know if it is an acronym or something.
Right.
But I know that this is a word that has been tossed around between the last couple of years, this whole cis thing. Right. Because they always say like cis hetero male or cis hetero female or just cis male or cis female. Again, being gay is who you are attracted to. You're attracted to the same sex, and that's who you want to be with. For us sexually as well as intimately, because people have to get that clarified as well. Being transgender is who you what gender you identify based on who you are,
right?
Not based on what your genitalia is,
right? And not based on what you're attracted to.
Yes,
it's more so based off of your identity.
Because, like you said, sometimes the attractions within the transgender community is very different. I know some transgender women who are, like I said, they're
like
attracted to men who like men, but just like Caitlyn likes women,
right.
So does that make Caitlyn a lesbian?
Technically speaking,
so since he once was a man who actually had children and had sexual intercourse with cis women, biological women, as we say. So that's the kind of difference. So the reason why so back to what DeShaun was saying earlier, I do get why people say that the transgender kind of quote unquote don't belong.
Right.
Now, it's a little different. I don't know if I had this conversation with you. I think I might have had it with another friend of mine about transgender people, especially trans women, should I say. Again, I know I said this every podcast, but I'm of a particular age. And the transgender people that I knew or known of, they transition and they live their life as hetero women. They weren't really in the gay community like that. They're just the ones I knew. A lot of people I knew who transitioned, they transitioned to be a woman so they can be a biological woman and live in the straight world.
So they were men and became full woman. They lived life as a straight woman.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now,
as you would say, pussy.
Fish.
Yes.
Very pussy.
Right.
So, but now, and even still then, back in the day, even from watching Pose and watching, it's a documentary I suggest everybody watch. It's called Paris is Burning. And that's actually exactly what Pose is based off of. So that's the premise.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, so it's the premise of what Pose is based off of. And a lot of similarities and a lot of parallels that's on Pose, it's on the documentary Paris is Burning. So it's a highly recommend if you're going to watch Pose to watch Paris is Burning, so that way you can get the gist of it because you can see what inspired Pose. And actually some of the people that was in Paris is Burning is in Pose, especially in the first season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so a lot of the characters they were like judges in the first season.
It's a nice long
second season, they kind of go in a different way. But I would say this, even with this, to go back to what I was saying, now there's transgender people that we kind of know who's more in the forefront. Some of them, not all, they still like in the gay community. So they still kind of like act like quote unquote faggots, as we should say. I know it's a derogatory word, but that's the way they act.
Well, do they act like that because that's who they hang around?
Yes, but also no.
And so do you feel like once a person becomes transgender, they should leave the community?
It's a difficult decision for me to say yes or no to, because I feel if I was transgender, I'm going to become a woman, so
you would live your life.
I would live my life as a woman.
But straight women hang with gay guys sometimes.
We all know sometimes that's for the wrong reason.
Well, sometimes it's for the right reason. So maybe
we're very entertaining,
right? And
we're very lovable sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole nother conversation. I think we did a podcast about that, so you actually have to go back and try to find that episode.
I think it's called Gay BFF.
Yeah, it's that one. So yeah, I can't say that because in the older generation, the trans women were the leaders. The trans women were the revolutionaries. They were the one who kept home, and they given a lot of people homes, and so I can't say that they should be out of the community, because in the ballroom scene, a lot of trans people are in the ballroom scene. So, because we are a community, yeah, I can see why people say, yeah, once you transition, we basically quote unquote kick you out of the community. I don't think you want to be a woman. No, that's what I'm saying. That's how kind of people maybe in that particular Reddit sub forum probably kind of like feel that way, because now you chose to live your life as a woman. You don't even identify as gay. So if you identify as a woman, that means you identify as a straight woman or a straight male if you transition to be a male.
Well, where can the transgenders go?
Well, in this society, this day and age, it's still a little bit harder for transgender people, but it's also a little better. The hospital that I work at hires trans people.
Restaurants hire trans people. Restaurants hire all people for the most part.
But there was a time, just like in polls, a lot of girls can get regular jobs. They were escort. They would escort themselves. They were prostitute. That's how a lot of people were. A lot of trans women are sex workers because they wasn't given the opportunity to be in the regular work society. A lot of trans women are passable, who can kind of pass within the straight world. There's still some trans women who are not as passable. They're kind of clocky, as we would call them. They're clockable. So you can kind of tell that, they're not fully all the way transitioned, or their transition hasn't gone well with others. There's some trans people who, from younger, you're like, okay. When they transition, you're like, wow. But you can always see it when you see their younger boy pictures or their former self, and you can see like, oh, I see it.
And there's some that'll shock you.
And then there's some that can shock you. You're like, oh my God, like you went from this extreme to that extreme.
Right.
So, again, I'm not a transgender person, but this is another thing too, and I know this is very, I guess, will be ignorant or uncomfortable, and I guess insensitive for people to ask transgender about their genitalia, but they still have their male genitals.
I think that's a bit intruding, yeah.
So it's very intruding because we live in an age now. We have famous trans women. We have Janet Mock. We have Laverne Cox. We now have all the women from Pose, Angel,
Caitlyn Jenner.
We have Caitlyn Jenner. We have Candace Cain. We have it's a lot of trans people who are like famous now and who are of big names. So, but it will be very insensitive to ask these people if they still have their genders. We even still have we got people like T.S. Madison who has a sense of fame as well. But we all know about T.S. Madison. For most people who know about the beginning of T.S. Madison, who first knew about her, she kind of got famous for showing her genitalia. That's how she got famous. On Vine.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, so that's how she got famous. So she went viral because she showed her genitals on Vine. T.S. Madison also was a sex worker.
I didn't know that.
She works the streets as well. She has her own.
I thought she was a blogger.
She is now. She's a vlogger now, and an entertainment vlogger now. But that's how she got her start. She was in the adult entertainment field.
Okay.
She do porn. She's got transgender porn company that she ran herself, and she prostituted as well.
Cool, independent woman.
She's a boss. Okay, so, but now people don't know that, and she got a lot of scrutiny from her own community because of that. Because that's kind of like, I guess, their quote-unquote dirty little secret. And not everybody still have that. Oh, and Isis from American Next Top Model, too. She was actually the first trans person that I ever seen on TV. Shout out to Isis. I would never forget her because I had to put her name in because she was the first. And this was before the trans people that I mentioned was popular. There was a lady named Tracy. Her name was Tracy Africa. She had a modeling contract back in the 70s. She was on the L'Oreal box. She was the first trans person who had one of the first trans people.
In the 70s?
Yeah, who had a modeling contract, and she was on the L'Oreal box. And you can Google it's actual facts, and because she wasn't clockable. She looked like a woman. I mean, she was a woman. She lived her life as a woman. And I did some research on her, and she started her transition after she graduated from high school. So she started taking hormones, basically. And because she always kind of.
Is she still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive. She's actually still alive to this day. So if you guys can go and Google Tracy Africa and hear about her story should also be turned into a movie because she was a very big
Tracy Africa.
Yeah, she's in the ballroom scene as well, but she was a big thing. She was a trans person who had a lucrative cosmetics deal. She had a cosmetics deal with Avon, like I said, L'Oreal, and she was doing some fashion fair because Ebony had fashion fair. She was in magazines. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's a very famous trans woman. And actually, that's what they modeled Angel character on Pose because Angel is becoming a model on Pose. They got it from her. It's kind of based on like Tracy Africa's story, but it's more so based off Octavia Saint Laurent from Paris is Burning. That same particular scene, just like in Pose, was the same scene parallel to Octavia Saint Laurent from Paris is Burning.
Right. So, y'all, we started on episode 3.
That's episode 4.
4. Okay, episode 4 of Pose, and Candy died because she was murdered.
Candy was murdered in the hotel.
Right. Exactly. And so they had this whole funeral, and it was a really good episode because it showed how, I know the story isn't based off of a true story, but within the Pose storyline,
it's based off true events.
It showed how lip syncing came, to the stage, I guess.
No, because they were doing lip syncing way before.
Okay, well, to the ballroom scene, I guess.
They was doing it way before. Okay, now I'll give DeShaun a little bit more education about the scene because he doesn't know as much as I do. The ballroom scene used to be like drag scene. It used to be like drag competition.
Okay.
That's where the ballroom scene started. Mm-hmm. Then they began houses because they began to take in other homeless teens and youth who were kicked out of their homes for being gay. Okay. Just like in the beginning of Pose when Blanca took in, I can't think of his name right now, but everybody know who I'm talking about, who's seen Pose. So it's very that. So that's how the ballroom started from from drag queens. It was a drag, kind of like drag pageant thing, contest thing. And then they began to have because they had categories and stuff like that. So that's how the ballroom started. And the lip sync had been around way before Pose introduced it.
But so why were they trying to get lip syncing into the ballroom category?
So what happened was, as the ball, just like with every age, people want something new.
Okay, so things were turning.
So yeah, things were turning. Just like if people have seen Paris is Burning, they seen that that's another parallel from that particular documentary where they were talking about the different categories. Different categories start to come as again. They would have different categories. Just say and
they spoke with them. It was like, oh, this category is from 1973 or some shit like that.
Yeah, so they had all the categories. People are younger. They want something new and something fresh.
Yeah, it's a new generation.
So basically, yeah. So that's how that started. So that's why they kind of quote unquote the lip syncing thing was a new category in Pose. But as a time, even now, the categories are totally different from the categories in the 90s. Even in the early 2000s. So
should be expected.
Right, it evolves.
Yeah.
So that's how that comes about. That particular thing came about. But more so, the Candy scene was more so, for me, about how trans women are murdered and how trans people are treated. Mm-hmm. Candy in particular, in the ballroom scene, Candy was known for serving face. That's what her category was. But Candy always wanted to get into the other categories like voguing, and she wanted to be body. She wanted to be a star. She wanted to be known for a lot of things. But Pray Tell always put her down and tell her, because Candy, when she going to get after, she was looking for like, Candy, what are you doing? Like, this is not your category. But she had tenacity. She was always still wanting to try and be a star. Mm-hmm. And just like she told Pray Tell in this particular last episode, how she wanted to be a star. But it also goes back to, again, when they found out about Candy, when Angel came and got Blanca, and they went to go talk to Lulu, and Lulu was telling them that Candy ain't been home in 2 days. Because Candy was a stripper. She stripped at this bar. But she started escorting because they were house mothers. And she said, money got tight, so she started escorting. And they found out, so they went to that particular hotel where Candy was escorting. They noticed that, the particular room that she used, the key was still missing. So they wanted to check on her. But of course, the guy who ran the hotel, the manager or whatever, didn't want to do it. So they gave her information, blah, blah, blah. So long story short, they called and found out Candy was murdered. Housekeeper went in, as we seen, found her murdered and, dead in the closet. And again, that's a lot of parallels to a lot of trans people, because back in the day, that's what they did. And a lot of trans people were getting murdered. To go back again to Paris is Burning, there's a character in Paris is Burning. Oh my God, I can't think of her name right now, but I can see her face. She was in the House of Extravaganza. And she was murdered. But at the end of the documentary, by the end of the documentary, during the film of the documentary, she was murdered. Wow. They found her in a hotel under a bed, dead, under a bed. So, and it was, again, the same parallels of what went on for trans women back in the day, as well, even still for a lot of trans women now. Then it goes to when Candy starts having her like ghostly appearance and revelation with each character, like she had with Pray Tell, and Pray Tell seemed like basically he was kind of like jealous of her tenacity and her wit and how she had no fear of who she was. But she said, I couldn't be nobody else but myself.
Even her parents.
She had a revelation with her parents and her mom as well, her father, and that's a little difficult. You think about that. Think of that you've left home, you transitioned to be a woman, but your parent only known you since you were a boy, or they rejected you being trans. That's a lot of people's story in this day and age. Now you think about even with gay people,
right? Not even trans.
That's still a lot of people's story. This is why the show is so amazing to me.
It hits home for
it hits home for a lot of people. These are real life stories. But, and all in all, Candy was a fan favorite of the show. Candy was very sassy. Candy kind of bangy. You liked Candy. Candy was lovable. You liked her. Candy was like one of your sisters or one of your cousins, your female cousins. That's how she was. But they killed her off on the show based on just like, on posts on their Twitter was saying, show that same love and have that same compassion for real trans women when they get killed. Just like show that same love to a Candy in real life. And I was like, you know what? It makes you right. Again, we don't value the trans people. Like, we're so caught up in our cis heteronormativeness that we don't. I always felt that trans people have the hardest. Mm-hmm. Because again, you're transitioning to become the person that you are in the inside, for one. You don't have the finances to do it. So they're doing a lot of back alley things. They're going to like people who doing like, bad stuff. Not everybody can afford the good surgeons and they don't have the health care like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't have it to get it done unless they have money. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, and then again, like I said, even now, they can get jobs, some of them, but not all of them. And then they have to end up doing sex work. They're probably like doing drugs or do a lot of alcohol to get through. I'm sure a lot of them being raped, they're getting beat up, they're getting murdered for just being who they are because, quote unquote, the trade say they tricking them. No, they're not tricking you. Mm-hmm. You knew what it was in the beginning with. You liked that. Mm-hmm. You saw a female and you saw that. And some of y'all already know what they got, if they got a little extra down there or not. Because some people like that.
With that being said, do you think they were tricking them? As far as, do you think the transgender women were leading on and letting the trade, quote unquote, feel as if they were with a woman? Or do you think the transgender revealed themselves or assumed that the trade knew what was
I'm not going to say and put it like some of the trans girls probably weren't tricking the trade. Okay. Because at the end of the day, if I'm fishy and I look like fish and I'm like a woman, yes, I can get the trade. Mm-hmm. I can sleep with the trade and not have it just have to fuck me.
So should a transgender reveal themselves? Reveal their past more so, because at that point,
if they get into a relationship with someone, or just what they were prostituting.
Both. Tell me what you feel about both.
I feel like if they're in, this reminds me of Angel's story in season 1. I feel like if you've been in a relationship once with someone, I do feel that you should reveal to that person that you are a trans person. Not straight off the bat. This is like somebody telling you that they got HIV on the first meeting. It's like, whoa, it's too much.
What's wrong with that?
That's still too much.
You think that's too much?
Yeah, let me get to know you first. Because I know that's something that's very, I would say intimate, is very hard to kind of tell someone. You know what I'm saying? But if you're prostituting, you're no ma'am. Get what you get. This is a fuck. Or you sucking dick. Get your coin. No. And first of all, if they go to where you be at, they know what it is, because a lot of these trans women who were prostitutes, they, not to say that all of them was prostituting. Now I'm not gonna say categorize, say everybody prostituting on the transgender row, skid row, or host row. But majority of them are prostitutes in those areas.
I'll say this: if you're tricking, you're taking the risk of disease. You're taking the risk of that person being a different gender. You're taking the risk.
DeShaun, these people know they know what it is. Especially now, because they used to have a thing called Backpage, and that's what a lot of trans girls used to be on Backpage. If you know you're going on Backpage, you know what it is. They know about tricking you.
I just feel like you're taking
even
the risk. Even if you're like, I just feel like you're taking a risk. Like, period. If you buying sex, if you paying for, you taking a risk. You're taking a risk for disease.
The job as well as the prostitute.
Yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely.
That's the risk you take when you enter that industry. So,
period. But these boys, everybody tricking you. You know what it is, because you gonna pull their pants down, even if they can try to hide it all they want to. You gonna men. We like to men and people in general like to feel. They're gonna reach around, even if you just let them hit you from the back. They don't want to reach around. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you still have your former genitals, your male genitals. They're gonna reach around. They're gonna see it. You can't. I mean, I know if you in control of the situation where you maybe tie them down and you just maybe just ride them or let you hit you from the back, where you can kind of like more so hide it a little bit, because you might not have all your clothes off, or you grab it or cuff it or whatever kind of things that you do to yourself. I don't know what they do in the bedroom. I just only imagine. I'm just using from my vivid imagination. But for the most part, they want to find out, because they're gonna
right.
They're gonna touch me, tease me.
Right. So with that being said, I think Pose is a great show. I think it's good to tell everyone's story. It's a story that kind of needs to be told, and a lot of people see homosexuality as well as transgenderism or transgender, and they think that we're just having a good time and living our life and being happy and gay and trans and whatever. And there's a whole struggle behind it. So I really appreciate Pose for telling that story, because I'm not transgender and I don't have any immediate friends or family that is. I do have a cousin that's transgender, and I do feel like I just love when the story is told. A true story, you know what I mean, that people can relate to, and that really shows people's struggle. Because just being in the gay community in general, you know about transgender. You've been to drag shows and you've heard stories, and
which is also different as well. There's a difference between drag and transgender. Now, there are some transgender women who are drag queens, but people who are drag queens dress up as women for entertainment value.
And they're really full men.
Yeah, they don't live their life as women.
Right.
Transgender people live their life as women.
Right. And I actually work with someone who's transgender.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I'm not foreign
woman
to
or
it.
a trans man?
Trans woman.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not foreign to it. That person actually is in transition. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, so
they're going through transition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
Yeah. So I mean, even though I'm not that person, I still appreciate a story. Because
at the end of the day, we're all human,
and there's so many people who don't respect those people and don't give those people the rights that they deserve and treat them like they're lesser than human, and that's not fair. So
we just had a trans woman to get murdered a week after she got stomped out in the street.
Yeah, like when shit like that is happening, I think shows like Pose are
who they
really
are
important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, y'all, we're gonna be doing our Pose series, so make sure y'all check in for that. Will, is there anything else you need to say?
Nope. Watch Pose again. Check out. Go and educate yourself. Again, for everybody who haven't started watching Pose, I recommend that you watch it. Again, check out the documentary Paris is Burning and other documentaries that go through after. Once you found out about those characters in the documentary, go and Google and see what their life was like after the documentary as well. Of course, a lot of them are not with us, but there are still some that are. And again, check out Pose. It's an amazing representation of the community of gay culture and the ballroom scene in general. And that's it, guys.
Boom, y'all. Like, subscribe, share, comment, tell your friends, tell your family. Boom, bye.
Also hit the notification bell so that you know when we upload videos every time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye, y'all.